Okay, welcome everyone and thank you for coming. This forum is being live streamed on our NEISD Council of PTA's Facebook page. Our PTA mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. The expectation of our audience today is to listen respectfully to our moderator and candidates. No clapping or outbursts or gestures. We encourage you to take pictures of this event and to post on social media. Our moderator today is Bo Carrington, founder of BCA Executive Consultants, a boutique executive coaching firm based here in San Antonio, is a C12 chairman with Central Texas C12 Group. Bo is active with several local and national nonprofit boards. He's graduated 2 daughters from NEISD, and his son is a sophomore now in the district. Bo is a 10-year U.S. Air Force veteran, having served in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and has been married to Connie for almost 34 years. We're so pleased Bo could join us to moderate today, and I'll now hand it over to him.
Thank you, Ms. Weissmuller, for that introduction. I want to start by thanking all of you for being here today. Elections matter, and being an informed voter is very important. So that you're all aware, all candidates who officially filed for NEISD School Board Trustees Single Member District 5 were invited to participate and were provided with the questions ahead of time. Today, we have with us Melinda Cox, Chris Evans, and Dick Rasmussen. Candidates, as for the rules of this forum, they picked the biggest guy to be the rule enforcer. So, we ask each of you to respond directly to the content matter in the question that is posed. We ask that you not engage with fellow candidates and refrain from referencing other candidates' past statements. We want you to use your time to allow these that are present and viewing online to learn more about you. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement to answer each question and to provide a closing statement at the end. There is a timekeeper in the front row next to me who will hold up a clipboard to keep us on track today. Opening statements will be done in alphabetical order, and the closing statements will be done the opposite. Now that we have all that squared away, let's get started with opening statements. Ms. Cox, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Not yet. Hit the bottom.
All right, now. Great. Hello, and thank you for being here today. My name is Melinda Cox, and I'm honored to stand before you as a candidate for single-member District 5, representing the Johnson area as well as a small part of MacArthur and Churchill. As a proud parent of 3 Johnson graduates, my commitment to our district runs deep. I've been an active PTA advocate and volunteer in the district for almost 14 years, from advocating for student welfare to fostering community engagement. My passion for public education has been unwavering. Some of the things I've accomplished for the district include starting the Johnson High School PTSA Smart Driving Club in 2012 and the Tex Hill Veterans Day Honor Flight Program in 2015. I've also worked with Eagle Scouts to build a garden and start a program working alongside ALE students. I've had the honor of taking part in the NEISD Leadership Program in 2015 and serving on the SHAC for years. During my appointment in SHAC, I worked with district, community, and parent members to make recommendations regarding curriculum and worked on committees to improve health, safety, and nutrition. I also was a longtime board member of Northeast Council of PTAs. I am not sharing all these accomplishments to toot my own horn, but to provide examples of how deep my understanding of the district is and its needs. I strongly value the vital role of our teachers in shaping our futures and the importance of parent engagement. And what I've learned is that student voice matters, and we can help them best when we listen and all work together. Public education is the foundation of our communities. My candidacy is an extension of the work I've already been doing and motivated by the same priorities. These include fostering collaboration, valuing our diverse student population, strengthening family and community engagement, and empowering student voices. My name is Melinda Cox, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Mr. Evans.
Good morning.
Hello. There we go.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you all for coming out. Beautiful day, at least it's a little overcast, but my name is Chris Evans. I am also running for single member District 5. I have spent a literal lifetime serving children. First started putting together lessons for, when I say children, I was basically a child myself. I was 15 when I first started putting together lessons and teaching kids. I've been very involved in PTA as well with my daughters in their school. Also, the last 2 years, I put in over 500 hours volunteering in NEISD. Mentoring, teaching, and educating children is something that is very dear to me. It is something that I've spent a lot of time working in and doing. Most recently, going to spring break, we took 170 students to New York and Chicago over spring break. I don't think I've fully recovered from that just yet, but it was an amazing experience. The children had such a great time. It was fun to be able to be a part of that. I am, like I said, here because the needs of our children are heavy on my heart. There is such an opportunity to do so much for our children in this district, and I am looking forward to serving each and every one of you guys and serving our children as a trustee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Rasmussen.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Dick Rasmussen. Raz, a lot of people know me as my Air Force call sign, and I'm also a candidate for SMD 5. Thank you for being here and listening to the candidates and giving us a chance in this forum to talk a little bit more about our positions. I am an Air Force veteran. I was 22 years in the Air Force, went to the Air Force Academy, graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Engineering Sciences, graduated with military distinction. I also have a Master's in Public Policy. I flew airplanes. I did all kinds of things, T-38, C-130, airlift. I did a presidential support mission, and I'm very proud of my service. Also have 3 sons who are serving in the military. My oldest boy is an F-16 pilot. My 2 younger boys are Army infantry officers. One is a Ranger, and those 2 younger boys graduated from Johnson High School. I'm here before you today because I am wanting to be a trustee because really some principal reasons. First, equipping our students. We've got to equip our students for the future. I've heard some people say that, a lot of taxpayers say, I don't have any children in the schools, but these children are 100% of our future. They're going to be people serving us at HEB. They're going to be CEOs. They're going to be presidents of companies. They're going to be voting. So that's super important. We need to be training them and equipping them to have careers and giving them the best life available. Next, I want to make sure that we are supporting our teachers. They're the backbone of our education system. We need to make sure they're there. Everyone can remember the name of a teacher that they had and that was impactful to them. So we need to support our teachers. We need to support our parents. The parents need to be involved in our school system. It's their tax money. It's their children. We need to make sure that they're available to be inputs into our system. And finally, we need to have fiscal responsibility with our budget, and we need to stay on track to make sure we're spending our dollars wisely for the taxpayers. Again, thank you. I'm Dick Rasmussen, or Raz, for SMD 5.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, candidates, it's time for the first question. Mr. Rasmussen, you're going to kick us off today. So here's the question. You've all expressed your desire to serve as a trustee for Northeast Independent School District. What is one thing you love about our district?
Okay, thank you. One thing that I love about this district, I moved here in 2009, and when we moved here, I kind of knew I wanted to be in the Northeast area, and we drove up to the Northeast area, and Johnson High School was pretty new high school. We pulled into that high school, and we just kind of were roaming around because we had 2 younger boys that were going to be enrolling in Johnson. We walked in, we had a student that was at the front, and she gave us a tour of the high school. And we were just so impressed about that student and about everything that she was representing to us. And we really loved the community. And to go along with that, our youngest boy got involved in baseball. We were at a baseball game, and we had parents that came up to us, after the game and said, "You guys look new." And of course, we had just moved here. And so they just took us under their wing and said, we want to get with you. And to this day, they're some of our best friends. So really, it's about community to me. The community of NEISD is fabulous. And I think to add to that, parents are really involved, I think, with the school system. They want the best for their kids. We saw it when our kids were in wrestling. The parents would come out and support. They would be there. They wanted the best for the children. They wanted to see them succeed. And so I really love this sense of community and the sense of parental involvement in our district. And I want to see us foster that and continue that and further that into the future. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chris, what is one thing you love about our district?
So I have 2 bonus daughters. My wife Leah had 2 daughters when we met. They both, one graduated already from Johnson, the other graduates this year. I have been amazed at the teachers in this district. Like I said, I've served over 500 hours in this district, and so I work alongside a whole lot of teachers. We have some of the most amazing teachers anywhere. Their dedication, their care of the students. Spring break for teachers, for a lot of them, is to kind of relax, wind down, get ready for the rest of the year. We had great teachers go on these field trips with us and worked tirelessly to make sure that these students were safe, to make sure that they got to where they needed to go. And they were babysitting the entire time along with us, but they were enthusiastic. They were happy about it. They showed so much joy in being able to do it. So our teachers is probably the number one thing that I absolutely love about NEISD. We have got some amazing programs as well. ICSI, ISA, NISA. The choices and options we have for our students are unrivaled. They have a plethora of choices for their educational path. It's great. I've worked alongside some of the folks in these programs, and it's just amazing. We didn't have those programs when I was in school. I know that, but so I think those are really the highlights of what I love about NEISD.
Thank you, Chris. Linda, what do you love about our district?
Well, it's hard to pick one thing because there's lots of great things about our district. Everyone in this room knows that. I would have to say that I would focus on the diverse student, campus, and community population. We have people from all over the world here. I get to see that through my work with the Smart Driving Club. It's part of the reason that I enjoy that volunteerism so much, that we have different each campus is unique, each community is unique, each student population is unique, and what I feel NEISD fosters and encourages and applauds all those different types of populations, and that's one of my favorite things about the district.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, many of you have listed on your websites that you want to advocate for parental rights. So, Chris, why don't you kick us off and explain what parental rights means to you and how a school board member implements those parental rights.
Educating our children is the most important part in their life. It's what starts them off, what kicks them off to a life of being productive and for giving back to the communities. Teachers cannot do it alone. They cannot adequately teach and raise the children, so parents need to be involved. It's our right to be involved, but more than that, it's a dire need. Not enough parents are as involved as they probably should be. We see that anyone that volunteers sees that every time they're at an event, wherever it is. They're scrambling to try to get more and more volunteers in. How to encourage folks to be more involved is reaching out. It's getting them involved in PTAs. It's getting them involved with booster clubs. That's simply selling them on the fact that, hey, this club is looking out after your children. They want what's best for your children, and we need your help to offer that and to give that to them. So parental rights is vitally important in rounding out education for these children.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Melinda, can you explain to us what parental rights mean to you and how, as a school board member, how you implement those parental rights?
So, like I mentioned in my introduction, I have 3 students go through the NEISD community, and I always felt as a parent that I had rights. But that comes with being engaged at the campus level, figuring out who your teachers are, figuring out who your board members are, who the administration is. So I think it starts there. Of course, parents have rights in education. They're your kids. At the end of the day, you are the ones that have the say in their education and other aspects of their life. I do, and I think parents have rights on the campus level. They also have a certain level of authority over their child's education. But we also have to remember that it's a partnership, right? So I see public education as a huge community, and there's a lot of different pieces there. Parental rights is part of it. Transparency is part of it. Engagement's part of it. So if parents feel that they need to have rights, which they do, it's a two-way street. They have to have that communication part of it with the teachers and with the administration and be engaged on campus. There's lots of different ways that campuses provide that possibility. Through PTA is one. You can be a volunteer on campus. Lots of different, you can sit on different committees, you can take surveys. So there's lots of different ways our district provides for parental rights and transparency and engagement. As a board member, of course, I would be open to listening to parents. I mean, parents are part of the huge piece that brings public education, that makes it thrive and makes it successful. So parent voice is extremely important to me, and I would be very open to having conversations to any parent and anyone who has a concern about their child or public education.
Thank you, ma'am. Raz, tell us what parental rights means to you and how, as you believe, as a school board member, how would you implement those parental rights?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to just read from the Texas Education Code because I think this is a good reminder to everyone. Texas Education Code Title II, Subtitle A, Section 4.001, discussing the mission and objectives of public education in this state. Regarding the parental role in a student's education, the code states that a successful public education system is directly related to a strong, dedicated, and supportive family, and that parental involvement in the school is essential for the maximum educational achievement of a child. Objective 1 goes on to say that parents will be full partners with educators in the education of their children. I think that spells it out pretty clearly there. Our parents are critical to teaming and partnering with our educators to bring our kids to the highest level, to bring them a world-class education. I personally, as a trustee, want to see more parental involvement. I go to board meetings and I don't see very many parents there. I go to different activities, and I think we've got to increase the awareness of board meetings. We've got to get people there to be engaged. We've got to get parents working with teachers. We need parents looking at curriculum. Right now we have the shack, but I think we should have some committees that would be able to look at the curriculum as parents and make recommendations across all the curriculum, not just the health curriculum and those types of things. So the shack is important, but I think we need to establish those. I'd love to have some types of forum where I could have coffee with the trustee or whatever you want to call it, tacos with the trustee, something where we could sit down and we could talk with parents, get their input, feel what their feelings are about things that are happening in the school with curriculum and how they are seeing their education go. Because again, it is their tax dollars, it is their children, and they should have a definite say in what's happening in their school system. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, next question. Public education is under attack. So, Melinda, what is your opinion on vouchers? And as a school board trustee, what will be your plan to have a presence, a voice, and a compelling message during the next legislative session?
I'm against vouchers. If a school board were to do another resolution against vouchers, I would certainly sign it. I have worked at the local level and the state level against vouchers. I believe that vouchers further harm an underfunded public education system. Our state is not funding our schools accurately, and I believe it would further increase that problem. It affects rural communities, and it affects students with disabilities. So I do not believe in vouchers. I've spent a lot of time in my advocacy role with Northeast Council of PTAs at the state capitol. I know who the Baird County delegation is. I've worked with them before for years at the state capitol against vouchers and in support of public education and teachers. So as a school board member, that advocacy part at the state capitol would be very important to me. I also think there's always been a need for an educational piece or more of an educational piece, which PTA has worked really hard to put that and share that information. I've worked with a lot of nonprofit public education groups to further push out the voucher message and the danger of vouchers. But honestly, I believe that vouchers will destroy public education. Like I mentioned, it's underfunded already, and so you're just adding to that problem. And I would work at the state level and also work at an educational level within the district to get people to understand why I would be against vouchers.
Thank you, ma'am. Raz, what is your opinion on vouchers? And as a school board trustee, what would be your plan to have a presence, a voice, and a compelling message during the next legislative session?
Thank you. First of all, I have to ask, did Governor Abbott submit that question? Yes, it did. Okay. So anyways, first of all, I just want everyone to know that the issue of vouchers has nothing to do with trustees. Trustees are not creating vouchers or doing anything. I know there was a resolution before. It's merely a resolution to try to tie people down to see where they stand on vouchers. It's the legislature and the governor who are going to pass that bill to determine if tax dollars go somewhere else for children's education. So it's not really applicable. But I'll answer your question. I would be for vouchers because it's your tax dollars. Your tax dollars are there to educate your child. If your school is not performing and bringing your child to the education level that you think they should have the opportunity to take them somewhere else. We've seen so much of our spending go through for frivolous things. I mean, this recent $1.2 trillion bill that was passed, $15 million going to educate Egyptians, college education in Egypt. What are we spending that for? We've seen, $1,000 hammers and $2,000 ladders spent by the Defense Department. So I think parents and taxpayers in general want to have more say over what their tax dollars are going to do. That being said, I would say also that this would create competition. Competition is great. Competition is the fuel that has the fuel to the engine of capitalism. Capitalism has been the greatest thing that has prospered America and made us the country we are today, the most prosperous nation in the world. So I think the same thing would actually happen in this case. It would create competition. We would bring schools up to a higher level, bring education to a higher level, and bring our students to a higher level. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chris, what is your opinion on vouchers? And as a school board trustee, what will be your plan to have a presence, voice, and compelling message during the next legislative session?
Thank you. I do not support vouchers. I agree that it is not a school board decision. It'd be great if it was. We could take directly the voice of our voters and act on that directly. Unfortunately, we cannot. The legislature will decide on vouchers for us. Now, we can educate our voters. For example, in states that have vouchers currently, 69 to 75%, depending on the state, of students that or families that use the vouchers were not enrolled in public school anyway. So it's not really, they're finding out that it's not a program to help people afford private education. It just isn't. And there have been no studies that have shown that vouchers actually help improve the academic success of a student. So there are a lot of reasons why vouchers aren't necessarily the golden egg that they're made out to sound like. It will take money away from an underfunded public education, removing money from our teachers and from the programs that offer students an excellent next step into the next part of their life is not an answer. Our job is to educate people. I'm willing to go up to Austin and to talk to folks and to continue to educate, to rally behind not allowing vouchers to remain if they do indeed pass.
Thank you, sir. Now, recent parent concerns have highlighted the need for checks and balances in our school system. The School Health Advisory Council, or SHAC as we know it, is one group that assists in ensuring local community values are reflected in health education instruction. So Raz, who is ultimately responsible for curriculum content, and do you think groups such as SHAC are a viable part of that process?
Sure, thank you. I think I alluded to it a little bit before in one of my answers, but I think yes, the SHAC is a vital part of determining what curriculum we're using, determining what's best for the teachers and students. I think, again, as I mentioned, we could expand that to more committees. We could expand that to all of our curriculum, science, history, math, and I think that we could have input that way from the parents to determine, if this curriculum is something that, is viable, something that is working, something that helps. And again, we need to have that curriculum looked at by the educators because they're the experts at educating our children. That's what they do for a living. And so I think we need to have them look at it, and we need to partner with these parental committees to essentially team up and figure out what would be the best curriculum to have for our students in all of the schools. That being said, ultimately it's the trustees' decision, I believe, to approve those curriculum, to look at recommendations from SHAC or other committees to see what they're recommending on the curriculum, the books they're recommending, and for the trustees to look at that in a viable way to see if those would be the best programs for our children. Now, I think also we need to give ourselves time to do that. Sometimes I feel like we have pressed things too quickly. We've come up with agenda items on a Friday, and then on a Monday the trustees are asked to vote on them. We need to give our parents, we need to give our teachers time to look at those curriculums and to make viable inputs, and to be able to give the trustees time as well to look at those recommendations so that they can make an educated vote and an educated decision on what curriculum we're actually going to use in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Melinda, who is ultimately responsible for the curriculum content, and do you think groups such as SHAC are a viable part of that process?
Well, curriculum is the ultimate responsibility of the TEA and the School Board of Education. So I'll say that. I was on SHAC for almost 7 years. I was appointed and served for almost 7 years before I was retired, since I no longer had a student in the district. I know that SHAC is an essential piece because it brings together parents and staff and community members. So I was very fortunate in the time that I served. I believe that SHAC is important, has a role to play, because what it does is it brings, again, all those pieces of the district together. As a parent, I brought something, I learned something from the district staff and also from the community members, and while I was there, we made some tremendous progress and what I like to believe was differences on campus. As I mentioned in my introduction, I sat on the Safe and Healthy Committee and also nutrition. Just as a very specific case in point, before I was retired, we were working on an app. NEISD has a See Something, Say Something policy. Well, my committee wanted to bring that down to the student level. No kid's going to dial a 1-800 number, so we're working on an app to put on their phones through the guidance and working with the counselors. So they, during the day or at home or whatever, could actually report something or say something if they needed to. So that's what was so special about SHAC, is that we worked on a lot of different areas: nutrition, recess, sex ed, all health, and I got to be a part of that and lend my voice. And SHAC is important because it reminds us of our community values, right? So our community values might be different from the next community's values. So those pieces, bringing those groups together and having that reminder of community values is why SHAC is so important.
Thank you. Chris, who is ultimately responsible for curriculum content, and do you think groups such as SHAC are a viable part of that process?
Thank you. So the TEA is responsible for a lot in education, certifying teachers for one. Ultimately, the Board of Education is responsible for curriculum. Our amazing teachers get to decide how best to deliver that curriculum to our students. That is based on a lot of things, but the makeup of the classroom is a good indicator, is a good server for how they deliver that curriculum. For SHAC, for a group like SHAC to be most effective, it needs to be able to provide perspective. and we need a vast array of perspective. We need many people from different avenues of life, of experience, to provide that perspective. If you get too many people with the same viewpoint, the same mindset, you get a very narrow perspective, and that doesn't benefit NEISD or our children as well as it would as if we were able to get a large group of people to bring their unique perspective to us. So SHAC can be very effective. I think they're very important to provide the perspective, but we need to widen it a bit and to get as wide of a perspective as possible.
Thank you, sir. Now, like most of us in this room and online, special interest groups have very strong opinions on the education system in Texas. So, Chris, as a school board member, how would you respond to special interest groups who advocate for censorship of existing curriculum and resources perceived by them to conflict with their personal beliefs?
This kind of goes back to the parental rights. Parents have a right to opt out of lessons that they view as conflicting with their personal beliefs, whether it's religious or whatever the case is. They are able to receive alternate lessons for those in place of what they deem as conflicting. And that's really the answer, is that there's already a process in place for it. There's no need to change the entire thing because there might be a family that opposes it. So I do not agree with censorship. I think that for us to learn, we have to learn from our history. We have to learn from the tools that we have. And without those, we're doomed to repeat what we have already done, whether it's good or bad. Unfortunately, usually bad in those cases, but so yeah.
Thank you, sir. Raz, as a school board member, how would you respond to special interest groups who advocate for censorship of existing curriculum and resources that are perceived by them to conflict with their personal beliefs?
Okay, first, a couple things on that. It's interesting that the question was touted as censorship and special interest groups. I don't really see it that way. I see it as parents who are concerned about the materials, most likely, that are in the public schools. We've seen some of the things in the media about this book, All Boys Aren't Blue. You've probably seen some of those takes on the media. But that was disgusting. It was graphic sexual content that should not be shown to any minors in our school systems. They should not be bought with public dollars and in our school system. I would ask any parent out there who has a minor at home, do you not have filters on your internet for pornographic material? Do you not have your filters on your internet for things that you don't want your children to see? We should have the same things at our schools to make sure that our children are not seeing these kinds of disgusting things that can warp their minds. As parents and as citizens and as adults, we're here to protect our children. Our children are our future. If we're warping them with these kinds of books and these kinds of materials, it's not appropriate. I'll add this too. I don't know how many schools are out there actually using iPads and Chromebooks for their materials or giving them to students. But I think some of them are allowed to take those home for study or materials. Do we not have filters on those as well? I mean, would you consider that censorship because we're filtering those iPads and Chromebooks from not allowing them to see certain things on the internet or go to certain sites? I would think not. If you do, then obviously we need to change the policy on the iPads and Chromebooks. So again, I don't think it's censorship. I think it's citizens and parents being responsible about what's in their public school system and what's in the library or in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you. Melinda, as a school board member, how would you respond to special interest groups who advocate for censorship of existing curriculum and resources that they perceive to conflict with their personal beliefs?
Well, I guess it would depend on the curriculum. So each case would be a case-by-case review, research, or consideration. If we're talking about sex ed, our district was one of the first in the state to use opt-in. So if you're talking about science classes, then those are TEKs that are state mandated. So So, and as far as the word censorship, I don't believe that censorship and education should go hand in hand. I think that you obviously in our districts work very hard referring to books to have books at the appropriate age level on campuses, right? So I would just have to take it case by case, and it would depend on what the curriculum was or what the censorship part of that piece was. As a board member, I think you have to, you can't make blanket statements, and also as one person, I can't make decisions, right? It has to be a majority rule. So that would be something I think we'd have to look at case by case.
Thank you. The next question. Charter schools continue to expand and be built within our district. Melinda, how do you feel about the expansion of charter schools in our community, and what can NEISD do to retain these students?
So I don't believe that charter schools serve all students, right? They don't have to take every single student. Public education is public education in our communities, our local communities and campuses, and we take all students. Charter schools don't have to do that. Charter schools can send you away. Charter schools don't have to take you. So I think charter schools may not serve the purpose that they initially once did, and to me, now it's all about money. It's about diluting the dollar and opening a charter school. As a board member, obviously, I'd want to continue to work toward public education community. So I think our district does a really good job at listening to what its parents, its stakeholders need, right? So I think we just have to keep focusing on that. I think we have to, the school board adopted a balanced scorecard in 2022, which looks at the 4 S's, which is students, staff, stakeholders, and stewardship. I think that's a very important tool. I think it can be expanded on, and we can continue to use it. And I think we just have to reach out through surveys, parent engagement, and figure out what parents need. I feel like our district does a tremendous job with all our campuses and our magnet programs and our STEM programs does a tremendous job meeting the needs of those. And what's funny is there is a certain portion of that charter population that goes and comes back. So I think we have what the students need, but I will always be open to listening to parent and concerns or ideas about what the next part of our district looks like.
Thank you, ma'am. Raz, how do you feel about the expansion of charter schools in our community, and what can NEISD do to retain these students?
Thank you. I think it's like anything. I look out in the real world and I see, why do we have businesses that pop up as competition for other businesses? Because maybe that business isn't doing everything that they need to do. Maybe they're not performing to the level that they should be performing to. So competition pops up. That's how you get, different coffee shops. You get Starbucks and Dutch Bros. You get all these things that come up because they see, well, I can maybe do a better job. I think that's part of the proliferation of charter schools, is they've seen the decline in our education system. I mean, in 20 years ago, we were number 1 in the world in education. Now we're number 13 in the world in education. I'm an advocate of public education. I came through the public education system, and it was great. I was successful. My boys did as well. But I think that charter schools have popped up because parents are frustrated with their level of education that their children are getting. I mean, we're seeing reading rates in elementary school and middle school in the 40s that can read, 40% that can read to the required level. Math in the 30% range. High school, 17% for math, 62% for reading. I think parents have just said, I think there may be another option for us to try to pursue. And when they pursued that, maybe it's worked for them, maybe it hasn't. Maybe they come back to the public school. I think the great thing about public schools, though, is it provides a well-rounded education. One of the things I loved was it provided me with sports activities. It provided me with student council. It provided me with music and band. It provided me with all those things that maybe a charter school is not going to be able to do. I think we bring the students back by showing them the totality of what the public schools can bring to them. And I think if we raise our level of education, raise our level of producing world-class students and excellent students, then we will get those people back from the charter and home schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chris, how do you feel about the expansion of charter schools in our community, and what can NEISD do to retain these students?
Thank you. We have to remember why charter schools came about in the first place. People lost trust in the public school. The perceived disadvantages outweighed the perceived advantages of the public school. And so they sought an alternative, and it was a charter school. I agree that charter schools, while not a bad option, they will have the resources and the ability to round out the educational experience of a student through sports. Sports is tremendous. It teaches teamwork and cooperation. It teaches discipline. Those are things that students will need the entire rest of their life. Fine arts. Fine arts is critical to the education of students. It teaches things that critical thinking skills that you won't get just in math and writing and reading. It helps discourage antisocial behavior. There's so many benefits to fine arts and to sports that largely are not available in charter schools. To help reverse that, we need to toot our own horn. We need to highlight teachers more. We need to highlight student success more. We need to get out there all the advantages that public education does indeed have. It's making that public and selling the public on the benefits of public education will help to reverse that. Unfortunately, supporting vouchers, taking money away, is going to prohibit us from offering the absolute best in teaching and in the tools for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 7. Chris, you get to kick it off this time. What was your level of volunteerism with NEISD before deciding to run? And please describe how you spent your time with the district in the areas that you provided support.
So I have 5 children around that went through public school. I have 2 bonus daughters that are, well, one just graduated, and the last one is at Johnson as a senior. I have spent many hours in school districts volunteering, helping out. Over the last 2 years, I spent over 500 hours building desks and chairs for teachers because we don't have the resources and custodians to accomplish that. I have spent time building cabinets for teachers, putting up storage components so that they can store their supplies. I've spent time decorating locker rooms and being a snack dad for volleyball teams. I have been in the schools decorating foyers for musicals and for events that are coming up. I have chaperoned proms and banquets. There's not a lot that I have not yet done in the school, whether it's been at the elementary school level, junior high, and now most recently high school level.
Thank you. Melinda, what was your level of volunteerism with NEISD before deciding to run? And please describe how you spent your time with the district and the areas that you provided support.
Well, I've been a proud member of PTA, many PTAs for the last almost 14 years. So that's how I started. I worked, and then when I had my 3rd son, I decided to stay home, and I like to be involved and engaged, and I realized that was a really good way. So I was very grateful to have that capacity, to have that membership with the PTA. They do tremendous things, not only at the elementary, middle, but also the high school. So I then decided I wanted to focus on a couple of areas, which was healthy lifestyles, and then the veterans program at Hill. Put in a couple gardens at Hill and at Tejada, and then of course in 2012 I started the Johnson High School PTSA Smart Driving Club, which was quite an experience for me. I started with 3, my daughter and 2 of her best friends, and now it's grown in numbers and has become a very important part of our campus at Johnson, not only at Johnson but also to our district. We have PSAs that play at football games. I put together a toolkit so other high schools never wanted to keep it at Johnson because we all need to make smart choices behind the wheels. Every single time you get behind the wheel, so put together a toolkit that was used by other campuses, including ISA and Roosevelt and MacArthur. So I volunteered. I've been on SHAC. I was part of the leadership. I've worked my way through district programs, PTA programs, advocacy programs, worked with lots of nonprofits in the field of public education, put together the Honor Flight program at Tex Hill, which is one of my favorites. It brings the veterans together with the students. So I feel like I've been at lots of different local campuses, specifically put together health wellness programs at Cibolo Green and Hill, and put gardens, like I said. So I feel very lucky to have had that opportunity, and have done that for almost 14 years.
Thank you, ma'am. Raz, what was your level of volunteerism with NEISD before deciding to run? And please describe how you spent your time with the district and the areas that you provided support.
Okay, thank you. When our boys were in Johnson, my wife and I were team parents for the wrestling team. We also were involved with JPA and helped out with that organization. We also were founding members of the Young Life Club that was started at Johnson years ago. And I'll mention this too, that I've been a volunteer for years. I volunteered to coach baseball, basketball, Little League. I've been involved with young children and at all ages, mentoring them, leading them, guiding them, encouraging them. So I don't think it's just about the public school system where you're volunteering. I've volunteered in church. I've led Bible studies. I've led Sunday school. So it's not just about the public school. If we're talking about volunteerism, it goes across the whole gamut. And so I don't just want to look at public education or the schools to see where you volunteer, because we all volunteer in some respect, and just because it's not at the school doesn't mean you're not a volunteer. I'll add this, though, too. I don't think volunteerism necessarily a board trustee makes. We need leadership. Leadership is a quality that we need on the board. I'm that person. I've been a leader for 35 years now. I was in the Air Force for 22 and a half, as I mentioned. I retired as a lieutenant colonel. I was a combat pilot. I was a director of operations. I was a commander. I led teams in the hundreds. I led small groups of teams. I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets, and I've led teams to success. And I think that's what we need. We need to have someone that has that type of background at the trustee level, not just somebody who volunteered. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This has concluded our questions. So now it's time for closing remarks. And Raz, since you went last, you're actually going to go first this time.
Well, thank you again for hosting this forum. I'm pleased to be here, and I'm pleased to be a candidate for SMD 5. I really hope that you'll come out and support me and support my campaign and vote for me. I'll just make this last argument. When I look at candidates myself out in the political system and I see who I want to vote for, everyone stands for different positions. They say they're going to do a certain thing. And those are all fine and well, but the things that I'm looking for is integrity and moral character and courage. Because a lot of times, and I think that's a problem with our system right now, is we've seen a lot of people say they're going to do one thing, they get in office and they do another. And so we've got a lot of apathy in voting right now. A lot of our citizens don't come out to vote. I think we've had 10% of the people come out and vote in the primaries. We need somebody in this position who has moral character, integrity, and courage. I'm that person. So when things happen, such as COVID, that you never expected to happen, you know that I'm going to be the person that is going to make the right decision. I'm going to be the person that makes the right call as a trustee for the district, for the students, for the parents, for the teachers. And so I think that that's the totality of who I am and what I stand for. And I think I am that person. I think I am the person that has moral character, that has integrity, and has courage to make the right decision. Because it takes courage sometimes to make a choice that's not very popular. It takes courage sometimes to make a choice that everyone else doesn't necessarily agree with you on. But I'm that person. I have courage, and courage is contagious. And we can make this the best district in the state, and we can do this because it's excellent. NEISD is excellent, but let's make it world class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chris.
Thank you. Thank you for moderating. Thank you for everyone that put this together. I know I've put a lot of work into it. You guys are in for long days. You've got several of these to do. So we appreciate you all showing up as well. Again, my name is Chris Evans. I am running for SMD 5 for candidate trustee. What makes me different, what sets me apart, is my style of leadership. It is leadership through service. It is leadership through building people up, through encouraging, through positive reinforcement. There's so much negative in the world. There's so much that we can pick on to point out, to discourage, and to put people down. But to encourage people, to help them to grow to better themselves, to reach new heights is what's going to make us as a district even better. It's encouraging our students. It is showing them that they have the potential that they don't know that they yet have. It is also working with the parents and coming alongside them as they raise their children, as they seek the best for their children. I have spent my entire life serving children, and this is the next natural step into continuing that service. I'm a man of integrity, I'm a man of action, and I'm a man of service. I will get in there and work alongside everybody that is willing to come and work with me. Together we can empower tomorrow's leaders today.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you to Northeast Council of PTAs for hosting this event and to everyone who attended. I do believe that it's very important to make an informed decision, and I appreciate that you guys all came out, and I hope you go home to your friends and family and share what you learned at today's forum. I believe I'm the best candidate for a single-member District 5, and I believe that because I spend a lot of time in this district, I spend a lot of time in a lot of different levels. I've been privileged enough to see the district from the inside out. I've been privileged enough to work on campuses and be given the trust to create different moments and different clubs and different events at the campus level. I also know how important the state level is. I do believe it's important for trustees to understand that process because it takes us all working together to support public education, both at the local level, the community level, and also at the state level. I believe I'm the best school board candidate because I have a lot of connections in our community. I've done that through my years with the Smart Driving Club. I've been able to work collaboratively with the city and the county. That's no easy task with different law enforcement. My club students got the flashing school zone lights on Bulverde, so that's a very direct impact that I've made and that my hard work has made and my club students have made to affect the safety of all the kids and parents coming in and out of the campus on Bulverde Road. So I believe I bring an understanding and an experience where I can be put in a room and everyone can be opposed and not have the same idea, but there's always a common ground. And I believe I'm the right person to bring that common ground to the board in Single Member 5 and also throughout the district, and to be able to be that voice for the voiceless and for the people that have concerns, but to bring it together in a collaboration. I can make hard decisions. I understand that if there's a majority that I might have to be part of that decision process. So I humbly ask for your vote and appreciate the time today.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Raz, Chris, Melinda, for coming and letting us learn about you and your views today. We sincerely appreciate your willingness to engage in this group. Now I'd like to turn it back over to our Northeast Independent School District Council of PTA's President, Debbie Weissmuller.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, candidates, again for your participation. Thank you to our in-person audience and all of those watching online with us today. I'll remind our in-person audience that our candidates will be around for a few more minutes after the program. Early voting begins Monday, April 22nd and ends Tuesday, April 30th, with Election Day being Saturday, May 4th. So please get out and vote. PTA is a membership organization that advocates, and if you'd like to be a part of the PTA on any of your campuses, you can either visit your campus directly or join pta.org to join one of those 67 PTAs. Thanks so much.